Ever wondered what happens when you just disappear from someone's life? I'm not talking about pulling back slightly. I mean completely vanish. No texts, no calls, no contact. What would they really feel when you're gone? In today's world, where people constantly think they can take others for granted, let's flip the script. Disappear, and I promise, their world will fall apart. Welcome to the most important video you'll watch today. If you've ever been in a relationship or a situation where someone has gotten too comfortable with treating you like an option, this video is for you. We're talking about a powerful concept today, what they truly feel when you simply vanish from their life. We'll go over 9 intense emotional stages that they will go through when you disappear. And let me tell you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away and never look back. If you're ready to discover your worth, if you're ready to make them miss you like never before, drop a comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because by the end of this, you won't ever be one again. Stay tuned until the very end, because there's a bonus 10th emotional stage they'll feel, one you definitely don't want to miss. And if you're ready to change the way they see you forever, watch this video till the end. Now let's get started. Number 1. The sting of rejection. This is where it all begins. They never expected you to vanish. Not really. In their mind, you were always going to be there. You were the one who put in the effort, the one who made the plans, the one who cared. You were the person they could rely on until you weren't. When you disappear, it's like hitting them with a brick they never saw coming. You've probably heard the saying, "You never know what you have until it's gone." That's exactly what happens when you vanish. Let me make this clear. When you remove yourself from their life, it's not just about the physical absence. It's about pulling away everything that you represented. The comfort, the validation, the constant availability. They feel rejected, but it's not a surface-level rejection. It's a deep, personal sting because for the first time, they realize they don't have control over you. People don't like to admit it, but when they know someone will always be around, they start treating them like a safety net. You become an option, not a priority. When you vanish, you snatch that safety net right out from under them, and that's when the panic sets in. It's like free-falling. They thought they could take you for granted, and suddenly they're left wondering, how did I let this happen? How did I lose control? The sting of rejection hits especially hard when you've been emotionally available. They took your love and your presence as a given. They assumed you'd always be there, no matter what they did. Maybe they even thought they were doing you a favor by keeping you around. That's the real irony. They think they're giving you crumbs, but in reality, you've been the one holding the relationship together. Here's what you need to understand. If you want to make them feel the sting of rejection, you can't give them any warning. Don't tell them you're leaving, don't give them an ultimatum, and definitely don't ask for their attention. Just go. Ghost them. When you disappear without explanation, it hits harder because they never saw it coming. It forces them to reflect on their actions, but it also tells them, loud and clear, that you're done being disrespected. When you walk away, don't look back. They will feel the rejection, and trust me, it's going to hit them in ways they never expected. The person they thought they had control over, the one who always stuck around, no matter what, has just left the building. Let them deal with the aftermath. Number 2, the void of missing you. Here's where it gets interesting. After the sting of rejection settles in, they start feeling something else. Emptiness. They didn't think they'd miss you, did they? In fact, they probably convinced themselves that they wouldn't care if you left. Oh, if they leave, I'll just move on, they thought. But what happens when you actually disappear? They start to feel the void. And it's not just any void. It's the kind of emptiness that gnaws at them. They go through their day, doing the same things they've always done, but something is missing. That's when they realize you were the one who added meaning to their life. You brought the energy, the warmth, the emotional stability, and now without you, everything feels bland. You see, when someone takes you for granted, they assume you're just a part of the background. They assume that the dynamic between the two of you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else brings what you did to their life. They might try to fill the void with someone else, but it's never the same. You brought a unique energy, one that made their life easier, more enjoyable, more fulfilling. The void grows bigger with every passing day. Maybe they thought they could distract themselves with someone new or with their friends. Maybe they thought they could focus on work or throw themselves into hobbies to get over you. But guess what? That void stays there, reminding them of what they've lost. It's a constant presence, eating away at them, because they never thought they'd feel this way about you. Here's the irony. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They thought they could do better, or maybe they thought you'd always be around. But the second you leave, everything changes. They start missing the little things, the conversations, the laughs, the way you made them feel understood. It's the small, everyday moments that they suddenly crave. But you're not there to provide them anymore. When you disappear, make sure you do it in a way that leaves no room for them to find you. Block them on social media, delete their number, and make it impossible for them to casually check up on you. The more they realize they can't access you, the deeper that void becomes. Every time they think of you and try to reach out, only to find no trace of you, the void will grow. Let them sit in that emptiness. And remember this, people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Let them miss you. Let them feel the absence. The more they feel that void, the more they'll start to understand what you brought to their life. Number 3, overwhelming curiosity. By this point, they're deep in the void, and they start to get desperate. Curiosity kicks in, and it's overwhelming. The big question in their mind now is, where are they? What are they doing? Who are they with? They become obsessed with knowing what's going on in your life because they no longer have access to you. You're a mystery, and nothing is more unsettling than not knowing what's going on with someone who was once so close. In the age of social media, this stage is even more intense. They'll be checking your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, every platform, just to get a glimpse of what you're up to. But here's the kicker. You're not giving them anything. You've gone dark. No updates, no stories, no posts, nothing, and it drives them crazy. Why? Because human beings hate the unknown. The moment you vanish, their mind starts running wild with questions. This is where their insecurity kicks in. They start wondering if you've moved on. Are they seeing someone else? Are they better off without me? They can't handle not knowing, so they become fixated on trying to find answers. This is when they might even reach out to mutual friends, trying to get information about you. They'll ask questions, but they'll be too proud to admit they care. It's a sad sight, really. Someone who thought they didn't need you, now going out of their way to figure out what you're doing. The truth is, curiosity is a powerful emotion. When someone can't get the answers they want, their mind fills in the gaps. They'll start imagining you with someone else, imagining you happier, more fulfilled without them, and that thought eats away at them day by day. It turns from curiosity into an obsession. And here's the best part. The less they know, the more they want to know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about. To fuel their curiosity, you need to become a ghost. Go completely off the grid. Don't post anything that could give them clues about your life. Let them wonder. Let them stew in their own thoughts, trying to figure out what's happening with you. Every time they pick up their phone to check on you and find nothing, it'll drive them closer to the edge. You hold the power now, and their curiosity is your biggest asset. Don't give them answers, give them silence. Number 4. Deep self-reflection. Now we're entering the dangerous territory, for them that is. This is where the self-reflection kicks in, and it's not pretty. After days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward. They start asking themselves the hard questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? The regret starts creeping in, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. Here's the reality. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's human nature. But when you disappear, you force them to confront those mistakes head-on. Without you there to reassure them or smooth things over, they're left to face their own behavior. And it's not a fun experience. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, questioning whether they could have done something differently. They remember the times they ignored your texts, the times they brushed off your feelings, the times they made you feel like you were an afterthought. And it hits them hard, because deep down, they know they had a good thing going, but they took it for granted. Now, they're stuck with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are brutal. This stage is especially powerful because it's internal. They can't blame you anymore. You're not around to argue with or to make excuses for them. The only person they can blame is themselves, and that's a tough pill to swallow. The self-reflection gets deeper as time goes on, and the more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up. The guilt builds, and they start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently. But it's too late for that now. During this stage, don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize that they were the reason things went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Number 5. The urge to pursue you. Now that they've spent enough time in self-reflection, something shifts inside them. They go from questioning themselves to wanting you back. The tables have turned. You were once the one who put in all the effort, who cared, who pursued. But now, it's their turn. The urge to pursue you becomes overwhelming. They can't stop thinking about you, can't stop wanting to reach out, can't stop wondering if it's too late to make things right. They'll start sending those "I've been thinking about you" texts. They'll like your old Instagram posts, maybe even comment on something to see if you respond. They might send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to rekindle what was lost. Here's the thing, they're chasing you now. They've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back. And this is where you hold all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't need to respond. In fact, you shouldn't. Let them feel the desperation. Let them wonder if you've moved on. The more they pursue, the more they'll realize that they've lost control of the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand, and that drives them crazy. When they start chasing, don't give in. The moment you respond, the power shifts back to them. You've worked too hard to reclaim your worth, and now is not the time to give that away. Let them pursue you, but don't reward their efforts. Silence is your strongest tool here. Let them feel the frustration of wanting something they can no longer have. Number 6. The battle between relief and regret. When you first disappear, they might feel a brief sense of relief. It's that initial feeling of freedom. They tell themselves, "Finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore," and maybe they even feel good about it. But here's the thing about that so-called freedom. It's an illusion. It feels exciting at first, but it's superficial and temporary. They go out, hang with their friends, swipe right a few times, and for a moment, they think everything's going to be okay. But as soon as they're alone, sitting in their quiet apartment or scrolling through their phone, that's when the regret starts creeping in. They begin to realize that freedom without you is actually emptiness, that the people they thought could replace you are just surface-level distractions. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It feels like a solution, but it just leaves them more dehydrated, more desperate, more regretful. What's more, in today's world of casual dating and hookups, people often think that moving on will be as easy as finding someone new. But it's not. They quickly learn that you can't replace someone who gave you emotional stability and a real connection with some quick fix or a meaningless fling. And that's the realization that knocks them flat on their back. Let them experience this freedom. Don't rush back in when they start feeling regret. Let them sit in that empty space they thought would feel so good. Remember, the relief they initially feel is temporary, but your absence will haunt them in ways they never expected. Number 7. The desire to play the game. Once regret settles in, they panic. Now they want to control the situation, but they don't know how. So, what do? They try to play games. They start acting distant on purpose, trying to make you jealous, posting photos with other people, making it look like they're happy without you. Maybe they post a cryptic status about moving on, or a selfie that's trying a little too hard. It's all just one big attempt to reel you back in, to make you wonder what they're up to. But here's the thing, you're not playing anymore. You've outgrown the games. You've moved beyond that childish behavior, and you don't even notice their petty attempts to provoke a reaction. You see, people think that manipulation through jealousy or playing hard to get will make you chase after them. But what happens when you've stopped chasing? When you've grown tired of the game? They'll throw everything at you. Subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated posts on social media. But none of it works because you're not giving them the attention they crave. You're not engaging in their childish tactics. And that, my friend, is what drives them absolutely mad. When they can no longer get a reaction out of you, they lose control completely. They're left flailing, grasping for something they can no longer manipulate. Don't engage. Ignore the cryptic posts. Don't react to the photos. Their game only works if you play. The moment you stop responding is the moment they realize they've lost their power over you. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use. When you vanish, the absence of your words, your texts, and your presence speaks louder than anything you could say. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. And here's where it gets tough for them. Because the silence is so heavy, so unbearable, they start to question everything. They start thinking back to all the times they ignored your calls, all the times they were too busy to reply to your texts, and now they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is torturous for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to ask what's wrong, to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and they have to sit there in the quiet, wondering if they've lost you for good? They can't stand it. Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they become. We live in a world of constant communication, texts, calls, notifications, instant gratification. Everyone expects an immediate response. When you don't give them that, they spiral. They're used to the noise of a relationship, the back and forth, even the arguments. But silence? Silence is deafening. Let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't explain yourself. Let them feel the weight of their own actions through the absence of your words. They'll soon realize that losing access to you is far worse than any argument you could have had. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. Now, here's where it all comes crashing down. Fear. This is the part they never thought would happen, the part where they're actually scared of losing you. For a long time, they were comfortable. They thought you'd always be there. They took your presence for granted, thinking you were the one who'd stick around no matter what. But now, you're gone, and they're terrified. The fear hits them harder than anything else. They start to think, what if I lost them for good? What if they've moved on to someone else? The idea of you being with someone new consumes their mind. They'll picture you laughing with someone else, making memories with someone else, and the thought of it makes them sick to their stomach. They're no longer worried about their pride, their ego, or playing it cool. Now, all they can think about is getting you back. This fear drives them to do things they swore they'd never do. They'll reach out, they'll apologize, they'll beg. Maybe they send long messages explaining how they didn't appreciate you before, but now they realize how much you meant. Maybe they show up at your door unannounced, hoping for a second chance. Whatever they do, it's motivated by one thing, the overwhelming fear that they've lost you forever. But here's the truth. By the time they feel that fear, you're already gone. You've moved on. You've found your strength, your independence, and you don't need them anymore. Their fear is real, but it's too late. When they come crawling back, don't give them a second chance just because they're afraid. Let them face the consequences of their actions. You've already moved on, and they need to learn that you're not an option to be taken for granted. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already ahead of 99% of people out there, and you have proved to be a true Stoic, someone who seeks depth in wisdom and understanding. For listening till this far in the video, here is a bonus just for you. Number 10. The realization of emotional independence. This is where everything comes full circle, the realization of your own emotional independence. When you disappear, you're not just walking away from them, you're walking towards your own freedom, your own emotional clarity, your own peace. You see, in many relationships, we get so caught up in making the other person happy, in proving our worth, that we forget about our own needs. We forget that we have the power to choose, to walk away, to demand better for ourselves. But once you've vanished, once you've reclaimed your space, you start to see things clearly. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You've realized that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience. This is your emotional independence. And here's the best part. They feel it too. They realize that you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, wiser, more confident. They can sense that you've outgrown them, that you no longer need them to feel complete. This is where the tables have turned for good. They're stuck in the same old patterns, but you've evolved. You've broken free from the cycle of validation, and now their opinion means nothing. Own your emotional independence. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they still have control over your happiness. You've moved beyond that, and that's your biggest win. So, what's the lesson here? Stop giving people the chance to take you for granted. Stop being the person who's always there, no matter how badly they treat you. The moment you walk away, the moment you vanish, everything changes. You hold the power now. They'll feel it, they'll regret it, and they'll realize they've lost something irreplaceable. If you're ready to reclaim your power and stop being an option, comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because you're about to step into the most powerful version of yourself. If this video hit home for you, if you felt a shift in your mindset, consider joining the channel memberships. It helps us keep creating quality content like this and makes it accessible to as many people as possible. And if membership isn't for you, hit that subscribe button. Both options help the channel grow, and I appreciate every bit of support. Remember, you're in control now. See you on the next video.